Hello, this is Chad Broshears. I'm the founder of Go Figure Holistic Personal Training and the Human Manual. And I'm also going to start a series of podcasts called Growing Up in the Wilds of Suburbia. And that's actually being brought to you by the Human Manual. So, great big shout out to that particular education and that company. So, thank you. Okay. So, what we're doing in the podcast series is we're going to talk a bit about like what's going on in our society. There's going to be a lot of different types of conversation. Human behaviorism, psychology, all kinds of wonderful stuff are going to be part of this, as well as the philosophy of the Human Manual. So stay tuned. All right. In the meantime, what shall we talk about? First off, I want to just make sure that I paint a really good picture about what we're going to do with this series. Modern events, things that are going on. You'll find that I really like to take apart the media, not take apart attack, but take apart more of understand and rationalize your way through what's going on and what you're being told, and how easy it is to be told one thing and the truth be another. And how do you identify when you're actually being told nonsense? Now, as a disclaimer during this podcast series, you're going to hear me use language. Now, I use language. I'm a huge advocate and supporter and fanatical in my own right about linguistics. And what that is basically just it's the study of language and the impact of language. So with that, you choose a word. Why did you choose the word? Really, that word tells a lot of truth to your mental landscape. And also, whenever you're being misled or whenever you're being directed in a conversation, specific words direct us in specific ways. So, you'll find that when you start learning, some of the parameters and rules of linguistics, you'll start to learn where, people are intending to take you someplace in a conversation. Salespeople utilize these tactics regularly, and so do others that are, philosophers will utilize the tactics, theologians will utilize the tactics. People that are really, consistent, proficient at debating and things like that. I'm not too big of an advocate for trying to force a conversation in a specific direction as much as I am about understanding where we're coming from and where we're going and why we want to go there. That's my desire. So if I see something that's a race issue on television, or as the Brits like to say, on the telly, I'll tear it apart in a sense that I'm not going to tear it apart again. What most people would think that conceptually means is that I'm going to attack it. I'll dismantle it, and dismantle it so that I better understand what's really going on, and what am I not being told. What do they want me to understand? What do they want me to know? This is not a series designed to make you, necessarily skeptical about everything in life, but more about just getting you to think. Don't become credulous in your position or your desire in life or where you are in life. Like, be credulous off of, somebody said it, so it must be true. It was written on the internet, so it must be true. It was on my Facebook, it must be true. My priest or my preacher told me, and it must be true. Or my aman or whatever, whatever your religious position is, it must be true because it was said in this text, right? It was said by this person. Right? Even then, you'll find out that there's a lot of times whenever what somebody was said was misinterpreted, especially if you hear it on the media or in the news. So with that, I hope to be kind of a rational sense and a source for information, and understanding our motives and understanding ourselves better. So I don't really have an article necessarily that I was going to highlight on today's podcast, as much as just give you an introduction to growing up in the wilds of suburbia. What that is, it's a really big topic, but a real generic introduction. As there are certain things about our existence that we kind of have to figure out for ourselves that we don't have guidance in, and in modern society more so than in other points in time in our existence, especially our recent existence. We have a lack of responsibility and a lack of guidance in a lot of areas. So it leaves us disarmed for being able to deal with these things when they show up. So whenever we have to go through an experience that we're disarmed about, we usually have an emotional factor, an imprint that stops us or that tells us to either go that way or go away from that, or how to work with those types of experiences. And it can ultimately end up being, a lot of excess work or the denial of other experiences. So with that, it's, growing up in the wildest of suburbia is we got a lot of wolf children in our midst. We become, raised by wolves in a sense, because we didn't have those values in lessons offset at an age where, our parents really could have made a big impact. And it's not against your parents. It's, they had what they had and they did what they did. It's the same now. You're doing what you do because you have what you have, and you're doing what you do, right? You have the experiences you've had, and you have the outcomes you want to acquire, the outcomes you want to experience. So with that, that's this series. I'm going to have guests on. I'll have, people calling in. This is really to create an enlightened viewpoint, or more viewpoints on specific topics and in specific areas. Anything ranging from, the rebel flag to, somebody decides to have a sex change, or who's divorcing who in Hollywood. Like, why should you care? Right? There's a lot, right? Like, and it's not going to say why should you care and make you wrong for caring, but just to kind of show you what you're missing when you care about those subjects. Ultimately, yes, there can be something that can come out of them, but is it going to line up with your desire for success? So with that, this is the series, right? It's going to be vast. There's a lot of topics. There's a lot of things. I might talk about a religion and, the vastnesses of religions. I might talk about education and the vastnesses of education versus, the entrepreneurial direction, the corporate direction, and understanding, and how to implement and work with people. There's a lot of different facets that I'll go through, and I'll have guests that'll be experts in these fields. So with that, here's the introduction. You are more than encouraged to reach out, to comment on these videos, to start a forum of conversation around the videos, to offer your expertise or your viewpoints. I'll have lay people on as well as experts. This entire thing is not to deny one person because somebody has a certificate and somebody else doesn't have a certificate. Everybody has an opinion. Everybody has a viewpoint. It's not about making other people wrong in their viewpoints. It's about kind of honoring those viewpoints and then finding out where the shortcomings of those views may be, or the benefit of those views and how other people can, benefit from that. So with that being said, please feel free, comment as much as you like, reach out to me. People that know me personally have my contact information. Others, you have the freedom of commenting on these videos on YouTube. Also, whenever they're posted off of my Facebook accounts, you are more than encouraged, please. So with that, thank you very much. Again, this is Chad Everett Brochures. I am the founder of Go Figure Holistic Personal Training and the Human Manual. And these podcasts are brought to you by the Human Manual. So thank you guys.